to all of our parents for getting that information in regarding your choice through the surveys. That was what we needed to get this rolling, to get our cohorting done this coming weekend. We plan on releasing the cohort A and cohort B groups out early next week. So we wanted to make sure we get that to you all as soon as possible for planning purposes, obviously with childcare and work schedules at the beginning of the year. Also just wanted to remind everyone about the Q&A that goes out. It went out yesterday afternoon around 4 o'clock. We have received hundreds and hundreds of questions. Thank you for the information, feedback as well within those questions, ideas, thoughts, all very helpful. We continue to respond to as many as we can and kind of collapse. Many are the same, so we collapse some and we put them into categories. Hopefully you had a chance to see that in the information that went out yesterday afternoon to parents in the parent Q&A. If not, it's on our website. Take a look. Additionally, we completed a video late afternoon yesterday and put that out last night as it pertains to additional information on the virtual Viking, the hybrid model, as well as special education services. So hopefully that was helpful to parents as well, and we will continue to push information out as necessary and be as responsive as possible. I just want to say, with the school year starting up in a little over 2 weeks, safety and security and supports for our students and families and staff remains our #1 priority. And I know the elementary team this evening is going to provide an excellent overview of logistics and everything in between as it pertains to our 3 elementary schools and getting our year underway. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. DiLoretto, and she's going to start off with the video and slides. Mrs. DiLoretto?
Thank you, Mr. Newton. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. Before I get into the presentation, I just wanted to say a couple of things. First and foremost, I know that there have been so many questions that so many of you have had. There's been times of frustration, there's been times of uncertainty, and please know that we are feeling that as well. These are challenging times for everybody, both professionally and personally, and there's been a lot of decisions that we've all had to make, and they're not easy decisions. And to our parent community out there, one of the biggest decisions you're making right now is what to do with your child. Do you send them to school? Do you participate in virtual Viking? Do you choose a homeschooling model? And we don't have the answer that's right for you. But what we're hoping to do tonight is to provide you a thorough overview of what we're planning to do here at the elementary schools. And hopefully that makes your decision certainly easier. Now, we know that you did complete the survey, and we thank you for doing that in a timely fashion. I know here a single child is accounted for, so that is incredible, more than I expected, so thank you for that. And we will be using that information, like Mr. Newton said, to make sure that we can do our cohorting as fast as we can, so we can get that information out to you so that you can do plans for childcare or whatever else you need that information for. We also appreciate your patience through all of this, even going back to the spring. The fall will look nothing like the spring, but back in the spring, you were wonderful, you were supportive, you partnered with us, and you've been patient, and so we appreciate that. And things are changing daily. A couple of weeks ago, we were going full return to school, and now here we are in a hybrid model. And so we're getting information from the State Department of Ed, from the governor's office. And so as things change and as information is pushed out to us, we are trying to do the best that we can with that information to make decisions. So we appreciate your understanding and your patience. There is so much we still don't know, and really many answers we still don't have. But I know I speak for all the elementary principals when I say the one thing we do know is that we miss the normalcy of school. We miss your children, we miss our teachers, we miss our staff members. We all wish that we could just all come back and things could be normal again. We're wanting that as bad as everybody else is. But also know that any decision that we do make is in the best interest of our children and of our staff members. So that's always at our forefront when we have our conversations trying to decide what is best. I feel in some ways that we might be over communicating to some of you, but I want you to keep in mind that we don't know how much information you have accessed. So there's a lot of information on our website. Principals have sent out information. And so if you feel like we're over communicating, I apologize, but we don't know what our audience is. So we want to make sure everybody has the most information that they possibly can. Now the middle school is starting today at 6 o'clock, and I know many of you are going to jump on that. So you are going to see some of the same slides, and you're going to hear some of the same information. Again, we are trying to remain consistent so that you're getting the same message. And I will be referencing a lot of the other, or we will be referencing a lot of the other slides that you might have seen in some of the other presentations. So I hope we're not overwhelming you with information. Once again, we will end a little before 6 o'clock. So those of you who need to jump on the middle school, you'll be able to jump on their Zoom and get started there. And so we're trying to be proactive to make sure that we answer a lot of your questions so that by the end of the presentation, you won't have that many. Let's see if we're successful. Okay, so here's our agenda for this evening. We'll do introductions of our elementary administrators. We're going to talk about the format and the function of the meeting, talk a little bit about what happened over the summer. I will discuss the hybrid model, health and safety. Jeff Provost will discuss logistics and operations, and Danielle Showman will discuss the school schedule and social emotional learning and support. We do have a slide on transportation, on busing, and then we will have time at the end for questions and answers. So with that said, I want to give my other two colleagues a chance to introduce themselves. So once again, I'm Melissa DiLoretto. I'm the principal of Lily B. Mr. Provost?
Yeah, Jeff Provost, principal, Niantic Center School. Thank you all for joining us this evening, and hopefully, we can share some of our operations and logistics openings so that we can answer some of your questions. So thank you.
Mrs. Showman?
She's muted. We're going to unmute her right now.
I just tried.
Thank you. I'm unmuted now. So Danielle Showman, principal at Flanders School. I'm so excited to be part of this team, this community, and just excited to be back in East Lyme.
Thank you. So I'm going to start off our presentation. So first and foremost, all of your microphones are muted. And so we're still learning the features and functions of Zoom. So we were able to mute you all, and you will not be able to unmute yourself. So we're all set with that. I am sharing the presentation screen. And just so you know, that Zoom has a function at the top of the screen that allows you to enlarge if necessary. If you're joining by phone or you cannot view the presentation, please know that afterwards it will be posted on our district website. So you will be able, we are recording. I want everybody to know we are recording this, and it will be available for you to view at another time. Also, the chat function is disabled right now during the presentation. At the conclusion of our presentation, we will open the function for questions. And the reason why it is disabled is because we're hoping to answer many of those questions before you even have a chance to type them. So we wanted everyone to wait till after our presentation was finished. If we should run out of time, we would ask that you please submit your questions to ELPS Reopen at elpsk12.org. And your questions will be answered from that site. And once again, thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate your participation. Just to give you a little bit of background on what happened this summer. So this summer, there were 5 district-wide committees that worked together to produce the East Lyme Public School reopening plan. So as I have said that I did, this will be posted, so these will be live links when this PowerPoint is posted. So the 5 committees this summer, we had operations, logistics, instructional pathways, social emotional learning, and communication. There were over 150 staff members on all of these committees. So that met multiple times throughout the summer. So the document that we produced as East Lyme Public Schools, our reopening plan, that's the work of all those committees and all of those staff members. And we had representation from our teachers, our custodians, our paraprofessionals. So all of the different stakeholders in the school, parents were involved in that plan. So there was a lot of work and a lot of people involved in creating that document. I also included 2 other links in case you are interested. There is a link to the Connecticut.gov talking about the State Department of Ed and what they are adapt, advance, and achieve in reopening schools. And then also the CDC and some of their guidelines. So if you are interested, those links will be live as well. As I'm looking at my notes down here, I did forget on the other slide to say I wanted to thank 2 people who are behind the scenes helping to make this town hall happen. And that would be 2 staff members from Niantic Center, Julie Dowling and Kelly Doherty. Thank you both for your support behind the scenes and helping us through this. So I am going to discuss the hybrid model. So this slide you might have seen in some other places. So what does the hybrid model mean? The hybrid model means that we will be cohorting students. There will be a cohort A and a cohort B. As Mr. Newton said, we are hoping that those cohorts go out at the beginning of next week so you can do the planning that you need to do. Cohort A will come to school for full days on Mondays and Tuesdays. On Wednesdays will be a half a day. In the morning, they will have live instruction from 9:05 to 12:35. And then after 12:35, it will be at-home work. Thursday and Friday, students will be at home in cohort A, and I will discuss a little bit about what that will look like, their personalized learning. Schedule for cohort B is they will do their personalized learning on Mondays and Tuesdays. They will participate in the live instruction a half a day on Wednesday, 9:05 to 12:35. And then they will do their personal learning at home for the rest of the day Wednesday. And then they will come into school for full days on Thursday and Friday. So let's talk about these 2 full days in school. The 2 full days in school, the one thing we can do with this hybrid model, because the class sizes will be half smaller, is we can really capitalize on personalized and individual instruction. So teachers can spend most of the time when the children are in school working in small groups and working one-on-one with students. This instruction can be personalized and targeted to where the student is at. The 3 full days at home, on the Wednesday, it will be the whole group instruction. So once again, that will be from the 9:05 to the 12:35. And this is the one time this Wednesday for half a day, we'll give it the whole class to have a chance to be together as a classroom community, because otherwise they're not seeing each other as an entire class. This will be very helpful if hopefully we go back full, where everyone comes back to school and the children are all together in the classroom. They will have at least seen each other on Zoom on Wednesdays for the half a day. And then the 2 days, they will have the independent personalized learning that we'll talk about later. Pre-kindergarten students with disabilities and ELL students may have some increased school time, and that will be on an individual basis, personalized to those children with conversations with those parents. So if we look at a schedule, our full day schedule is the same time as we have always operated, 9:05 to 3:35 for the elementary. Once again, we're treating Wednesdays as half days. So there will be live synchronous learning from 9:05 to 12:35 on Wednesdays. And then the rest of the afternoon will be for home learning on Wednesday afternoons. And then once again, there will be 2 days at home. So let me talk about these 2 full days in school. Live instruction is what we're calling our synchronous learning. So when students are in school for the 2 full days, they will stay in their cohort. Their cohort is their classroom. And they will be participating every Wednesday in that half a day. So there is your 2.5 days of synchronous learning. And the state has asked us that we have 50% synchronous and 50% asynchronous. So synchronous learning, we have a definition here, is when classes occur at a set time frame scheduled with a live teacher and direct instruction. So that's our 2.5 days. Our personalized learning is the 2.5 days at home. Students will have personalized learning plans. I'll talk about those on the next page. And those personalized learning plans will be the roadmap that they will use when they are at home for 2.5 days. Once again, this is what we are calling asynchronous learning, and that is when students can complete their work assigned on their own time with no live teacher-directed instruction. So if I go to the personalized learning plan, a personalized learning plan is a plan that outlines the learning for your individual child when learning at home. This plan includes timeframes and instructional tasks. So let me use the example, if your child is in cohort A and they go to school on Monday and Tuesday, when they leave school on Tuesday, they are going to go home with a personalized learning plan. So this plan is going to be personalized to where they are in the curriculum because we want to accelerate their learning. And it will outline what they need to do at home. There will be tasks, there will be time frames, there will be resources, so that as a parent, as you are supporting your child through this personalized learning plan, you will have specifics on what need to be done. Parents and teacher communication will occur weekly, if not more frequently, depending on what your child's needs are. Attendance will be taken every day. Attendance will also be taken on the days that they are at home. So once again, if I go back, if you are in cohort A and you're in school Monday, Tuesday, attendance will be taken Wednesday morning during the live synchronous learning, and then we will take attendance Thursday and Friday. And I believe we are still working exactly what that's going to look like out. Attendance. I did attendance. Learning Hub. We are going to use Seesaw again. So Seesaw will be our Learning Hub. We used it in the spring. Hopefully parents, you were able to get more comfortable with it. I know there were frustrations at first, and certainly we apologize for that, but our teachers did a fabulous job. They're more proficient than ever with Seesaw, and Seesaw has certainly upped their game and what they're offering us as well. So we are going to use Seesaw as our Learning Hub. And so that will be a part of the asynchronous learning. And they'll also be using Seesaw in the classroom so that if for some reason we have to go full distance learning, if we have to shut down again, it can be definitely more seamless than it was in the spring. Curriculum, we are prioritizing the curriculum by grade level to make sure that we are using the standards that need to be, children need to know and be able to do at that grade level. We are having responsive learner focused teaching, so that goes back to the personalized learning, looking at where your child is and accelerating their learning from wherever they are, because we know that children are going to come back with all different skill sets. And we are ready for that. And this hybrid model with the smaller class sizes will help us to target that learning. Once again, individual student growth and learning is what we are focused on. Students will be assessed using both paper and online platforms. So we do have some online platforms that we used last year that we will continue to use, as well as some paper assessments. And we'll also be using not only summative assessments, but formative assessments to help teachers drive their instruction. We are going back to our report card that we used in the past. It will no longer just be pass-fail. So we will go back to the traditional report card and we will have traditional grades like we have done previously. Instructional resources. Teachers are being provided documents and materials. They will also provide your children what they need. We are providing technology, laptops to students and iPads, depending on the grade level, and Danielle will go more into that. Internet access at school will be provided by the district, and internet access at home will hopefully be provided by parents and guardians. If you have some extreme circumstances, we can also have conversations about that. And this was a slide that was actually added with the presentation that Mrs. Drown, Mr. Newton, and Mrs. Davis did last night. This sort of just goes back to what I already sort of elaborated on, is that we want to provide your child with high quality instruction. And so we're capitalizing on this hybrid model. Having those small class sizes, we can really do small group and personalized learning while they're here. Whole group instruction will be limited when they're in school, but will take place on the Wednesday morning. And we want them to be also collaborating with their peers as best as possible, trying to maintain social distancing as well, which, you know, I would be a liar if I said that this isn't all challenging, but we're going to do this. And then at home, those days that they're at home, we are providing flexibility for you. So the 2.5 days that the child is at home, when you work with your child and support them, you can certainly be flexible with some of that time. So we're hoping that flexibility is helpful for parents. If I think back to the results of the parent survey back in the spring, that was one thing that parents said about what we had pushed out, is they enjoyed the flexibility that we gave them. So our teachers will certainly honor where students are academically, as well as social emotionally, and Mrs. Showman's going to talk about social emotional, and use targeted learning objectives to move their learning forward. So once again, we really need to prioritize the standards at each grade level and make sure we're focusing on what students really need to know and be able to do by the end of that school year. They're going to receive individual learning plans. I talked about that. Paraprofessionals. We're having a lot of conversations and we still are ironing out the details, but we're hoping to use paraprofessionals to support students for days that they're at home, because teachers will be teaching. So if you're in cohort A, when your student's home on Thursday and Friday, the teachers are teaching cohort B. So we have some really talented paraprofessionals that we're hoping to use to help support those children at home. And on days when students are home, they will be required to log into Zoom. And we're also ironing out some details and hoping that they'll be able to Zoom in as part of a morning meeting. So still more to come. We've made a lot of inroads here, but we certainly have some more decisions that we're trying to finalize. Okay, health and safety. Okay, I'm going way too long, so I'll have to speed it up. So these are just a couple of things. I guess I really have to be quick. So please, if your child is not feeling well, stay home. That is first and foremost. Health and safety is more important than anything. We are saying the same thing to our staff. If you do not feel well, stay home. We're asking for staff and students to complete a daily morning health check. Wear a face covering and mask in school and on the bus. Mr. Provost will talk more about that. We're going to practice social distancing. and wash hands and sanitize frequently. And I want all parents to know that we are going to do lessons on a lot of this. We'll do hand washing lessons and social distancing lessons. So this is going to be a part of what we do in those first couple of weeks of school. The students are great. They're the least of my worries, honestly. Elementary students, they're just awesome. So this was a slide that I took from another presentation. So we're asking for staff to screen before they come to work. We're asking for parents to screen their child before you send them to school. We're asking staff, make sure you're in tune to how you're feeling. And we will certainly be visually in tune to our children here at school, and we'll refer them to the nurse as necessary. We are not taking temperatures of children when they come to school. We're asking parents to make sure that they are checking their child at home. And then if this is another question, if there's an outbreak, none of us are doctors. We are not certified medical people. So we will work together as a team. If a positive case emerges, we'll let the school nurse know. We will let the superintendent of school know. And then the superintendent of school, Mr. Newton, he will notify the local health department, the Board of Ed, the Connecticut State Department of Ed. So we will certainly take our lead from him as building principals. And then decisions are going to be made based on the outbreak and what that looks like and who has it. There is a likelihood that there would be a short closure for cleaning, and then return to school, but there's too many unknowns with that, I think. And so this is sort of where we're starting, and we'll have to see exactly what that looks like, but we will lean on Ledgelight and we will lean on all the other agencies that are supporting us in that medical fashion. And certainly parents, we will update you if we do have an outbreak and obviously what our plan would be. All right, I talked for a very long time, so I am so sorry, Mr. Provost and Mrs. Showman. I will turn it over to Mr. Provost and he's going to take it from here.
Thank you, Melissa. Great job. Thank you for that. I'm going to take over the operations and logistics. Welcome to everybody who's out there. It's great to see so many of you out there. We hope that we're able to answer your questions this evening. You're going to bear with me a little bit here. I have a large portion of this with the operations and logistics, as you might imagine. I'm going to start with the face coverings. Obviously, we're all going to be wearing face coverings. That's all students, all teachers, all support staffs, bus drivers. Everybody will be wearing masks during the school hours. We are, receiving some information here on which masks are probably going to be maybe outlawed at some point. I mean, we're talking about the ones with the vents right now. Those little vents on the side have already been deemed to not be effective. And now there is some recent studies that the gaiters and the bandanas are also maybe not very effective. So we're going to try to get you more information on what type of masks we should be wearing during the day. Those masks are the responsibility, obviously, at this point of the parent to send the child with a mask. We have a emergency stock of masks. Should something happen during the day, one should break or get lost or whatnot. So we do have some of those, but we would ask that you would send those in with your students, obviously. Also, mass breaks. We are going to have mass breaks throughout the day. That has actually been put into the schedule, which Danielle will share later on in the presentation. So we will have times where kids can socially distance and remove their masks as well. At this point, we are also have ordered plexiglass dividers for our classrooms. So in the classroom, they will not only, students will have masks, teachers will have masks, teachers may also have shields and masks. And we've also ordered plexiglass for the desk for the student. So if the student was to come up to the teacher's desk and work individually with the teacher, there would also be a plexiglass divider there as well. As far as social distancing goes, 6 feet of space will be maintained when feasible. That is the guidance that we've received. 6 feet will be in the hallways, in the classrooms. Teachers are going to maintain 6 feet of space in the hallways while they're with their classes. If there's a situation where 2 classes are in the hallway at one time, one will be on one side of the hallway against the wall, the other will be on the other side of the hallway to maintain 6 feet as well in that distance area. We are also scheduling breaks by classroom and also bathroom visits by classroom, and that will minimize the hallway traffic. So we're hoping to be able to schedule those so that classes aren't in the same areas at the same time. We're also going to social distance as much as possible for arrival and dismissal, which we'll talk about a little bit later. We are working through that process now for arrival and dismissal. Clearly, as you know, with young children, this is going to be a bit of a challenge, but we do believe that it's possible to do. And we will talk a little bit more about music and some of the specials and how we're going to do that a little bit later. Bathroom use. Every other stall, urinal, and sink will be available for use, meaning that the ones in between will be closed off. Again, we're going to try to schedule those bathroom breaks as much as possible to avoid the hallway traffic. The stalls, as I said, will be limited. It will take us more time, obviously, to wash our hands and to go through the bathrooms. But, you know, the number one thing here for us coming back to school is not the time. It's the safety of your students. So we're going to make sure that we do it right and that they're safe while we're doing these breaks. We're also going to assign bathrooms to certain classes so that those cohorts use the same bathrooms, and that will limit the traffic in those areas, and also single in one bathroom for certain areas of the school, which should help us in that area as well. Cafeteria. We're going to social distance in the cafeteria. We're going to have table dividers as well. We're going to have assigned seating. We feel like we have to do that at this point. It's not something we want to do, but we believe that we need to do that to ensure the safety of our students during lunch. We're also going to have lunch delivered to the table. So we've already ordered the table dividers. The students will eat at the table with their class cohort, meaning that if you're in a first grade class, you will eat with that first grade class. The other 2 first grade classes will be in the cafeteria, but they will be at tables together. That ensures the cohorting that we've been talking about and that the state is requiring. And so we will do that at lunch, and that's how we'll do, you know, split those cohorts, make sure that they don't mingle at that point. The assigned seats are important for us in getting the lunches out to students. We've created a schedule which does not overlap grade levels anymore. So last year, first grade would eat lunch, let's say 12 to 12:30. You know, grade 2 would come in at 12:20 and they would overlap. We're not doing that. It's going to be just by grade with a 7-minute break in between to disinfect all the tables. And our lunch staff will bring the lunches to the assigned seats so that we can avoid the line at the lunch area where we would have to socially distance 6 feet while we were in line to get lunches. Let's see, recess is next, so I'll go to that. Lunch tables, as I said, they will be cleaned and disinfected between each lunch wave. I do want to take a minute right now just to say thank you to Chris Urban and Chris Lunn, who have worked with us on this lunch schedule, and a special shout out to Chris Urban, who's been feeding our students since March. And that's a huge task that he's done, and I think a very important one. So thank you to both of you for helping us out to come up with a lunch plan that we think is great. Recess. Students will stay with their cohort on the recess playground. Unfortunately, the playscapes and the swings are not able to be used. That's the guidance right now we're getting from the state, and we are not going to be using those. We have gone ahead and purchased classroom playground equipment for every single class in the school. Again, the cohorting piece of this, sharing equipment, sharing recess equipment would mean that we would have to wipe it down between each time. We're not going to do that. We've purchased classroom playground equipment for everybody, each class. The cohorts will remain together, as I said, at recess. We're also going to mark off the recess playground areas into 3 separate areas. Each class will have an area of the playground each day, and we will rotate that through. So, for example, if I'm on the let's say I'm on the blacktop one day, the next day I'll be at the other area, and somebody else will be using the blacktop. Everyone will have their chance to rotate through the 3 areas. Let's see, hallways I pretty much went over already. We're going to use our teachers. They do a great job of walking their students in the hallways already. And so we are going to keep them 6 feet apart. That'll be monitored by a teacher. And I think I've kind of covered that already. Classrooms, I'm going to do in a moment because I've got some pictures to show you of some of our classrooms and what they look like. So let me just drop down quick to the pickup and drop off. So after reviewing the surveys, it is apparent that we are going to have a number of you in our parking lots dropping off and picking up, which is great. And I think, that is a parent decision, and certainly respect that. What we need to do now is come up with a way to accommodate you. And so we have been working really hard on this. This is probably, in my mind, the biggest challenge that we have right now. I believe everything else I'm pretty comfortable with. We had a great productive meeting this morning. Again, Chris Olson, thank you to Chris Olson, Mr. Newton this morning, and we've gone over this. We're working really hard on this. I guess what I want to say to you is to just have to be patient with us. We are going to have no unnecessary visitors to the building this year. And so pickup will happen from outside the building. It will not be inside the building. And so we're going through the logistics of how that's going to work. But obviously, it's going to take us more time to get students safely out of the building and to you. So please bear with us on that. We are still going to require the license to be shown, and we are still going to require that you sign them out. We feel like we can't cut corners on safety and security for time. So please plan on a little extra time, both for drop off and pickup, particularly pickup. Drop off, I'm pretty confident we're going to be able to do the way we've done before. It may be slowed down based on the volume of traffic that we will be trying to get through the parking lots and off the main roads. But the pickup in particular is going to be a challenge and will take us some extra time. So please bear with us, especially at the beginning of the year when we're trying to work through the first couple days, first week on how that goes. Okay, I've done visitors. So Melissa, if you could give me the classroom setup, thank you. So sample classroom. So we have removed many of the tables and other furniture, including the rugs, which is a recommendation that we not have rugs in the classroom. We have stored all those rugs and they will come back when this is over. But for now, we've removed those. We've removed a lot of the furniture, a lot of the excess things that were in the room to make more space for social distancing. That's our real goal here in the hybrid model. We need to social distance. We need to spread kids out. We need to make sure they're 6 feet apart. That is our charge, and that's what we're going to do. And so there's going to be some sacrifice along the way to be able to accomplish that. But you're looking at a classroom, 2 classrooms here. one which has tables, which had the chairs spread out, and then also one which has desks in it. So just wanted to give you an idea of what it would look like. Obviously, in that classroom, in addition to the social distancing, your students will have face masks, the teacher will have a face mask and potentially a shield, and there'll be a shield at the desk. So several layers of safety precautions. That's our goal, to keep everybody safe. Okay, bear with me, I'm not done. I got a lot to go over. I did chair the the logistics committee, so I'm pretty familiar with it, but we do have a little bit more to get to. I want to make sure you understand exactly what you're sending your students back to so that you feel comfortable with where we're at. Outdoor spacing, we're going to use outdoor spacing to the maximum of our ability. We do live in New England, so, you know, our old man winter might interrupt us early, or he might give us a break. Somebody needs to give us a break at some point here. But right now we're looking at outdoor spacing, certainly for mass breaks, definitely for PE, and definitely for music. I'll get into the music piece in a minute, but we're looking to optimize our outside areas and use those to the best of our ability. As far as music, art, and library, we're going to, these are our special area classes. We're going to do the best we can to make sure that those special area classrooms are used. We talked a little bit about bringing it to the classroom, bringing, for instance, art to the classroom. We really feel like for our young students, we need to get them out of the classroom. We need to get them to areas that they're used to. We need to get them up and moving around a little bit in the building. And we believe in the hybrid model, we can do it safely. So we are going to use those areas to and have our specials occur to the best that we can in a regular scenario. So there's a couple things we'll go over real quick here. As far as PE goes, that's outdoor when weather permits. It's indoor otherwise. The equipment will be wiped down between classes if it's the same equipment that they're going to use for the next class. We will wipe it down. If it's something that next class is not going to use, and it may not be used for 72 hours, that's the other guidance, is we can sit something for 72 hours rather than clean it if we're not going to use it again. So we may do that. But if we're using the equipment, it'll be wiped down between classes. Let's see. As far as art goes, we're going to use the art room, where each student will receive a school kit and a home kit for themselves, which will have resources in it for them. And it will also have some things that they will be using in school and out of school. I'm going to go into that a little bit deeper towards the bottom here. And they will take that with them to the art class. That way, they are not sharing supplies in the art room with other students. They will have their own little kit that they bring with them to art, and they will go to the art room and they will use those. So library books. So library media, we're going to do the way we've done in the past. It's going to be in the library, obviously with their cohort in the hybrid situation. They're going to check out books as they always have before. The difference being, when the book is brought back, the book will sit 72 hours before it's returned to the shelf for somebody else to check it out. So that allows the time, that the guidance and the time that's required, and then we'll put it back on the shelf. And I believe that that's what we're going to do with our classroom libraries as well. We are going to allow students to still use the classroom libraries, to still use the books, but we will put them in a bin and we'll let them sit for 72 hours before we place them back out into the classroom library. So music. Now, music is the one area that is a bit of a challenge in terms of specials because there's different guidance on music. So we're going to try to do music classes outside when conditions permit. Or in big areas such as the gym if it's not used, or the cafeteria is not used at that time. And we're going to modify that for singing. Some of the guidance suggests that if we sing or we use instruments, that we need 12 feet of social distancing, which obviously is not possible in a normal classroom. So we would be, if we're singing, we're going to be either outside or in a large area like the gymnasium or the cafeteria. Now, on days where we're not singing and we're doing something like learning to read or write music, obviously that can be done in a classroom setting, and they could be in the music room for that particular lesson. Let's see, we're on school supplies. So school supplies will be provided for both home and school. Students are also, every student is also going to be provided with a device, whether an iPad or a laptop, which will travel back and forth to school with them. That is their device, and that's their device to have in school and at home. So they'll have a kit in school, in the classroom for them personally, a device personally, and they'll also have a kit at home personally. So each student will be provided that, and that's by the district. And that allows us for each student to have their own supplies, so there's no cross-contamination. The purpose of the one at home is if we have to go to remote learning, they will already have the things that they need at home. Each grade level across the district met and decided what they wanted in each kit. Okay, so we went through each grade level, K through 4. If we're in remote, what would you like them to have in their kit at home? And we went ahead and we did that. And we purchased those. They're on order and they're coming in shortly. Examples of what might be in there: crayons, markers, whiteboards, scissors, colored markers, pencils, erasers, and curricular materials from classroom teachers and special area teachers that they may need at home in a remote situation. Okay. Next, before and after care. This decision is not made yet. We are going to make that decision hopefully by tomorrow evening. I'm gonna leave that one right there. I'm not gonna go into great detail on that. We are not ready tonight to commit either way on that. So that is forthcoming, and we will get you that information as soon as possible. As far as kindergarten orientation, yes, we are doing it. We are very close to an agreement on how that's going to occur. And we believe we have a very solid plan on how to do that, that is very, very consistent with what we've done in the past. And so I'm very confident that that will happen, and it will happen, and it will be done well. So more to come on that. I would expect kindergarten parents that are out there, I would expect that you hear something on that next week sometime, and we'll get together with you on that. So forthcoming. Okay, class placement. This is an incredible year, as everyone knows, but we hope to have those letters able to be sent by the end of next week. There will be reduced class sizes during the hybrid model. We are currently in the process of reviewing your surveys and who's coming to school and who's not. Then we will run the Infinite Campus computer models district-wide, high school, elementary, and middle. And those schedules will be put together to make sure that all students from the same family and household come on the same cohort day. So that is very important for us. We have to do that for families. And then once we have that information, we need to cross-reference that to our class lists to see how that impacts them. And then after all that, we can give you a list and then hopefully a teacher by the end of next week. Now, what we can't do, and I'm sorry, but what we can't do is have parents request certain cohorts. We can't. Once the cohort is run by the computer system, that's it. Once we start moving people around, we start tearing apart the balance of the classes, and we tear apart the cohort. And by moving one kid, you could tear apart the whole family dynamic of who's going on what day. So there is no latitude this year in terms of class placements or teacher placements. So I just want to be clear with that. I've received a number of those. I've given all of you the same response, which is I'm sorry, and I really am sorry. I am. But we can't pull those apart. Water fountains. The water fountains will not be used in terms of the operational piece where you put your mouth on there and you drink. That will be covered, but we will use the water bottle part of the water fountain. For those of you who have seen them, you know that the new ones at the elementary school have an area where you can put a bottle and fill it. Those will be open, and we do encourage you to send your child to school with a water bottle if you would. We would really appreciate that. Let's see. Water fountain, I did that. I think I did it all. Logistics is a big deal, and I do want parents to know we are here to answer your questions. We do not have all the answers. We don't. We try. Things change daily, as Melissa said, and we try to get you that information quickly. Sometimes it looks like maybe we don't know what we're doing because it changed from yesterday to today. But our number one goal is your students' safety, and we're not going to cut corners on time or try to cheat this or that to do it. It's going to be number one, and the rest of it we will deal with as it comes. So I'm going to turn it over to my new colleague, Danielle Shulman from Flanders, and she is going to take you through this very in-depth schedule. I'm glad she's doing it and not me, because it's very in-depth. So Danielle, welcome to East Lyme. Welcome to Flanders. Welcome to our team. And you've been wonderful. And thank you for all your help that you've given me in the last couple of weeks. So.
All right, well, thank you so much. I will take it from here. All right, so as was mentioned earlier in the presentation, committees were established to work over the summer, and the focus of one of those committees was scheduling. So here you're going to see what a day would look like at the elementary school level, K through 4. So what I want to first bring your attention to is that every grade level will start the day with a morning meeting. Now, the purpose of this morning meeting is to really work on establishing a classroom community. The social emotional learning is really critical. So we want to be able to bring everyone together, have the opportunity for students to greet each other, share about things, and really just learn about each other, build that community. You'll also notice that K1 and 2 have afternoon meetings, and grades 3 and 4 have win blocks. And once again, the purpose of those meetings is to bring everyone together, to have some closure, and to, have a plan for the next day, the next morning. So after morning meeting, students will transition to an instructional block, unless of course they're going to a special. And those instructional blocks were really preserved so that it was a good chunk of time to either focus on language arts and social studies or math and science. So we know that mask breaks and movement breaks are really important and will be critical for student success. So you'll also notice that we built in those breaks throughout the course of the day. So every grade level will have a mask break in the morning or in the afternoon. And in addition to those mask breaks, there's also lunch and recess times, and that's when students also have the opportunity to take them off. So no student will go for an extended period of time without having that break. Classroom teachers will also be encouraged to provide additional breaks as needed based on the needs of the students in each class. So there's also transition blocks built into every schedule. So you'll notice that the transition block comes right after the recess and lunch block. And the purpose of that transition block is so that students can wash their hands before going back into the classroom. As we said, we really want to prevent and minimize the spread of germs. So that has been built into the schedule to ensure that that happens every single day. There's also a time, and it's not shown on here, but we've built in a time in between recess and lunch so that students can also wash their hands after coming in from outside. So we have those built-in measures to really ensure student safety. Lastly, for this slide, I'm going to bring your attention to specials. So our specials block are the same as it's always been. It's 50 minutes, and students will be attending art, PE, music, and library. So if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, I'll go into a little bit more about what the special schedule will look like. So this slide goes into a bit deeper the way that the cohorts and classes will rotate through specials. So we will be following a 4-day rotation, as you can see, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, across the top of this chart. So I want to walk you through an example. I'll use the grade 4 for this model. So if we look at grade 4, we have cohort A students attending school Monday and Tuesday. So if we look at teacher A in cohort A, on day 1, they would attend art. Day 2, they would attend music. So for days 3 and 4, that cohort would be at home, so they would not have specials. So when that cohort came back the following week, they would continue, go to day 3, which would be PE, and day 4, which would be library. So basically, over the course of a 2-week period, your child will get to attend each one of the 4 specials. Something that I want to point out, if for some reason a special is, we're not in school for that day, let's say for a holiday, then that special will be skipped and students will just continue forward with the current rotation. All right, so we can go to the next one. So finally, for scheduling, I'd like to go over what Wednesday's schedule will look like. So as Melissa had mentioned, each Wednesday, all students will be learning virtually from home. Every student will begin the day by logging into Zoom at 9:05 for that morning meeting to bring everyone together. Then the whole class will transition into a language arts and social studies block. During this block, the teacher will build in a brain break and a snack, and they will do that where they see fit. So it might not look the same in every single grade. Kindergarten students might have different needs than, let's say, our 4th grade students, but there will be a built-in break during that 9:20 to 11 ELA social studies block. So then students will transition to the math and science block. Once again, at some point during that block, students will have a brain break and opportunity to get up, move around, refresh so that they continue their learning. And that will also be based on the individual teacher and how they're scheduling their class. And although students do have breaks, I do want to make really clear that they will not be logging out of Zoom. So students will log in at 9:05 in the morning and they will be on Zoom the whole entire time until they're dismissed after the afternoon meeting. So they will be on Zoom from 9:05 to 12:35 on that Wednesday day. So they'll remain logged in for that live synchronous learning through that half day. And then you'll see from 12:20 to 12:35, there's that afternoon meeting, there's closure. And at 12:35, students will then log out of Zoom. They'll have their lunch and recess and then continue asynchronous learning at home from, for the rest of the day. All right. So as mentioned earlier, when discussing morning meeting, we recognize how critical social emotional learning is. So our district follows CASEL's social emotional competencies, the 5 of which are currently displayed on the screen. So we want students to develop all of these competencies to help them when in school. So the first one is self-awareness. So we want our students to be able to accurately recognize their own emotions, thoughts, and values, and how that influences their behavior in the classroom, on the playground, in the lunchroom, all around. We want them to develop social awareness, so the ability to take the perspective of and empathize with others, and that includes others from diverse backgrounds and cultures. We want them to engage in responsible decision making. So that's the ability to make constructive choices about behavior and interactions, to self-manage, and that's to regulate their own emotions, thoughts, and behaviors in all different situations. And then finally, to be able to establish and maintain healthy and rewarding relationships. And that's building relationship skills. All right. So here's a definition for social emotional learning. So it's the process through which children and adults understand and manage emotions, set and achieve positive goals, feel and show empathy for others, establish and maintain positive relationships, and make responsible decisions. So within the social emotional learning, we've identified with Castle 4 critical practice areas. So this first practice area really has to do with taking the time to develop relationships and plan. The second one really has to do with staff and designing opportunities when staff come back to heal, to connect with others, and to really build their capacity to support and connect with our students. The third practice is student-based, and it's just all about creating an environment in which students feel safe, supportive, an environment that's equitable for all students, and that really just encourages and promotes social and emotional development. And then finally, the fourth practice is then collecting and using data to really deepen relationships and continuously improve support for students, families, and staff. So those are our 4 critical practice areas, and you can see there's just further descriptions of what we're doing and what we have in place to make sure that we are hitting all 4 of those. Also, just to give a little bit more information, so critical practice 2, developing capacity, we are having a professional development day just focused on social emotional learning. Teachers will be provided a SEL toolkit with resources, activities, lessons, all of that to support this social emotional learning curriculum, not only at the start of school, but throughout the whole school year. All right, thank you. And I think that's on to Melissa.
Thank you, Mrs. Showman. So I put this slide in here just today, added it in because I thought maybe I should just spend a few minutes talking about the school bus. So in looking at the survey that parents filled out, like Jeff Provost said, there are many of you who will be transporting your children to school. But I do here at Lily B, I have roughly about 110 students who will be riding my buses. So that is not that much when you divide it by 2, so now you're only talking about 50. So I'm not really worried about the buses at all, which is certainly a relief for me. But certainly they're available, and I do think that children will be very safe on the buses. So if you want to use the transportation, I urge you to do so. So once again, just make sure that you're screening your children at home. One of the biggest things we're asking from parents is to help us to do social distance at the bus stop. So none of us will be at the bus stop. We will have no staff at the bus stop. So as parents, if you can once again support us with that, that would be much appreciated. Face mask will be required at all times while on the buses. The buses are going to have restricted seating, and what does that look like will depend on how many students are on the bus. But one thing we will do is we will let siblings sit together because you're in the same household. So if that is something that you want, that if you want your children sitting together, we certainly can do that. This is a big thing. Elementary bus rides can be challenging when school is typical. And kids love to switch seats, but there will be no switching seats. And one way that we are going to monitor all this is bus monitors are being hired. So First Student is hiring bus monitors for all the buses, and we will keep them until at least December. And then we will, at that time, we will reassess whether or not we still need them and where we are in this pandemic. Buses will be cleaned and sanitized between bus runs and also at the end of the day in accordance with CDC guidelines. Sanitizer is available for students as they board the bus, and buses will operate with windows open when possible. So as Mrs. Showman had said, we do live in New England, or Mr. Provost said, one of them said, and so there will come a point in time where it's not feasible to have the windows open, but we will, at least for as much time as we can, leave them open. Okay, and I put this slide in here also. This was from last night when, once again, the central office administrators put together an amazing video that helps to really describe the hybrid model the virtual Viking model. And then Mrs. Davis does a nice job talking about those children who have IEPs in 504, our special education students. So I urge you, if you haven't had a chance, it's about 26 minutes to watch that video. I did provide a link down here to it that you can go, and I'm going to talk about our website. Yeah, thank you. Sorry. Our website where you can find all this information too. So I'm not going to get into virtual Viking because I'm not going to do it justice like they did. But once again, I urge you to watch the video. And plus, in the interest of time, I want to make sure there's time for questions. So here we go. Our East Lyme Public School website, if you go to it, and right at the top, there's a COVID-19 banner. If you click on that banner, everything that's been, all the videos that have been done, all the correspondence from the central office is in there. There is so much information on that website. It can actually be overwhelming, but I urge you, if you have additional needs, please check the website first. Central office has done a great job populating that. And then there's also, if you have additional questions, you can email elpsreopen@elps.12.org, and you can submit your questions there. So what I want to do is open the chat room now. We have about 15 minutes because I am going to end 5 minutes early, so that if you need to hop on the middle school, you have time, you don't miss any of that. I think Jeff Provost just gave me a thumbs up that the chat room is open. So I am going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to go to the chat, and how I'm going to work this is I'm just going to read through some of the questions, and between myself and Mr. Provost and Mrs. Showman, we'll answer them. So let's say, I want to change from virtual Viking to hybrid model. Can I do that by emailing the school by tomorrow? Who should I email? My guess would be that yes, you can change. And so why don't you email your building principal, and we will figure out how exactly to do that. So welcome to hybrid. Oops, wait, I went too far. When distance learning begins, what will that look like? Will that look like what happened in the spring? So no, the spring is in the past. The spring is gone. It is not going to look the same. What it will look like is distance learning. I'm thinking you're talking about the hybrid when you say distance learning. So that's what I'm going with. They'll be in school 2 days a week, and then they'll be together on the Wednesday. And then they will be doing their personalized learning plan. So they're leaving school with a personalized learning plan that they will work on when they are asynchronous at home.
And Melissa, can I jump in? I just saw a question for the days children are at home. Will the asynchronous learning be over the internet or using computers or some paper-based? And I think it will be all dependent on the personalized learning plan. So we're really looking for a balance of, and blending the learning with both technology and paper, reading activities.
Thank you. If a child receives daily special education services normally, these services are shortened on half days. Will students receive full services on Wednesdays or shortened? I can respond to that if your child is participating in the hybrid, their IEP will be fully implemented as stated. So exactly the hours that they will get will be the hours that are on their IEP.
And those hours, just to, clarify, they might be when the child is on site, or they might be virtually when they're at home, but it will meet the IEP requirements.
How early can students be dropped off in the morning? Will cohorts be shared before or after class placement? So students can be dropped off as normal, which is 8:50 is when students start to enter the building because the school day starts at 9:05. And will cohorts be shared before? So we don't really have an answer to that question. We are trying to get you cohort information as soon as possible. So if we can get that to you on Monday, whether you're going cohort A or cohort B, we might just push that out to you first and then push out your class teacher. If we can make it all happen together, we will. So sorry, I don't have a definite answer to that, but I know that you really need to know what cohort you're in. And we really understand that your children want to know who their classroom teachers are. So we're going to do the best that we can to make that happen as soon as we can at the beginning of next week. That's the only promise that I can make. Can we get more information about the at-home days and expectations for those of us who need childcare? I don't want them missing morning meetings and such. So the at-home days, the Wednesday, we are asking that they participate in the Zoom. That would be synchronous learning. And that is from 9:05 to 12:35 on Wednesdays. And then the at-home, so the half a day on Wednesday and then the other 2 days, you can be flexible when your child completes their personalized learning plan. So we do want there to be flexibility, but know that your students are coming home with a plan that is personalized to their learning needs and that they will have tasks and assignments that need to be completed. What considerations are being made for a summer term instead of a winter term? What considerations are being made for a summer term instead of a winter term? We have not had any discussions on a summer term. I'm not exactly clear on what that means. So certainly you can email your building principal a little bit more about that, but we have not talked about any summer term. If there are positive cases and the school closes for a few days, will parents be able to switch to virtual learning only if they no longer feel comfortable sending their student in person? Oh, I see what that question is. That's a really good question. I don't have an answer for you right now. We can certainly get back to you on that. That is, I think we will have individual conversations with parents about what that will look like, but we will have conversations at the elementary in the central office level to determine what we'll do with that. Great question.
I see there's a question about the slides. Will they be posted somewhere? Yes, we'll post them on the school website. So you'll be able to go through all of our slides at your, own time as well.
So here's another question. How will our students in Virtual Viking remain connected to the schools they love? They also still need social emotional learning. That doesn't seem to be a part of their program. So there are conversations about them participating in the morning meetings with the classroom that they're assigned to. So if you made a choice that your child will participate in Virtual Viking, they are still going to be assigned a class and they still will have a classroom teacher. So just in case we go full back to school or if we go all remote, they will have a classroom teacher. So they are a part of a classroom. So we are talking about them zooming into possibly the morning meeting in the classroom that they're assigned to. How are Monday holidays handled with regards to the Monday, Tuesday cohort and the Thursday, Friday cohorts? It's a holiday, the day there's just no school on that day. The schedules aren't being flip-flopped at all. It's just a regular holiday and there is no school. When will students find out about what teacher they have? I think we addressed that. Will we be able to send children to school with our own choice of hand sanitizer? Yes, you will. We will have it available here at school, but if there's a particular brand that you like, or if they're allergic, then you can send them with their own. Details, airflow at NCS and AC be shared, is air shared between classrooms? What I do know is that we all have new ventilation systems in our schools. As a result of the building project, I do know that They have been making sure that we are getting as much natural airflow into those systems as possible. And is air shared between classrooms? I don't know. That is a question that we will have to get back to you on. I'm not really an HVAC expert, so I don't know the answer to that. Will students be singing with masks on? We weren't thinking that they would. That's why we wanted to put them outside or in a larger space, because they're saying if they're 12 feet apart, then they can sing. So it was not our thought that they would be singing with masks on. If there's a holiday, we already answered that.
There's a question here. Will the school provide laptops and iPads to virtual Viking students? Yes, they will get them.
There's also a question that I had gone over earlier about masks. And maybe I neglected to say that what I meant to say was everybody will wear a mask. Obviously, if you have a doctor's note saying that you cannot wear a mask, then we would certainly respect that.
Oh, somebody, you just answered that one, Jeff. Do we know if there will be a Sunrisers program? We did answer that in the presentation. There will be a decision made hopefully by the end of the day tomorrow. What percentage of children are in hybrid versus virtual versus homeschool at the elementary level? I don't have those numbers right in front of me. All I do know off the top of my head is that there are more people in hybrid than there are in virtual Viking at this point in time.
There's a question here. Is it being considered to use Google Classroom? No, not at this point. We're staying Seesaw K through 4.
For any questions we don't get to, can you include in the frequently asked questions for Wednesdays? For any questions, we are going to save the chat, and for any questions we don't get to, yes, they will be answered. If we go fully remote, then virtual Viking students will shift off Ingenuity and onto Seesaw. What is the reasoning for this? Is Seesaw a better app? If so, why aren't virtual Viking students using that? They're completely different. Completely different. Virtual Viking is an online learning platform where your child will be scheduled into courses that they will receive based on where they are academically. So virtual Viking Seesaw is not a learning platform such as that. There are not classes on Seesaw. It is just going to be more of a portal that the parents and the teachers use for students' work. So they serve completely different purposes.
And can I add on to that? I see another question about, if you are in virtual Viking and then the school goes fully distance learning, what does that look like? So if the school goes full distance learning, then virtual Viking students would then follow the East Lyme model distance learning. They would not stay in virtual Viking. So virtual Viking is a temporary option for families that do not feel comfortable, with the hybrid model and sending their children to school. But if we're all at home, everyone is doing the same thing.
What does classroom playground equipment look like? So we ordered playground balls, a football, a soccer ball, hula hoops, jump ropes, sidewalk chalk. That's what's popping in my mind right now. And we ordered, it's a mesh bag, so all the balls and everything will be in the bag, and it will go out to recess with the classroom, so that the cohort will have their own playground equipment. Because unfortunately, like Mr. Provost said, we cannot use the swings or the playscapes. Hopefully that will change over time. You already answered that. How can you give grades when there will be many families who will have grandparents teaching the kids? Well, the teachers, if you're using the hybrid model, the teachers are going to be with the students for 2 days a week, plus the morning on Wednesday, plus they'll be monitoring the personal learning plan. So the teachers will be very connected to the students, and they will be doing formative and summative assessments regularly. So they will be able to have the information that they need in order to assess the student's progress.
All right, and there's a question here about kindergarten expectation. Are they expected to have the attention span to sit at the computer, for 3 hours? No, they will not be sitting at the computer, watching a live lesson for 3 hours. There will be different components. They just will be logged in for that half day on Wednesday. So we just don't want them to get out of Zoom, then have to log back in, and the whole technology aspect of it. So it will be a live synchronous day, but there will be, a variety of things happening during that half day.
Here's a good question. Will we have the option to switch from dropping off and picking up to using the bus if the process doesn't work for the parent? So the answer to that is absolutely. If you start as a drop off and a pickup and you want to switch to riding the bus, you will just have to give us a little bit of time in order to make sure that we get you on the bus route and that you're a pickup spot, but absolutely you can switch. We have 1 more minute, so let me see.
There's one on there for me. I see
ahead.
if my child is exposed to an individual, a peer and or staff who has a medical reason not to wear a mask, I would definitely want to know, will parents be told? I don't think it would be any different whether they had a mask on or not. We would inform you that your student was in contact with someone who tested positive. Clearly, we wouldn't give the name. But whether it's someone who's wearing a mask or not wearing a mask, if they were near your child and tested positive, we would let you know that someone in the vicinity did test positive.
And I'll grab this one last question. Does the school have COVID testing in case a child has symptoms during in-person schooling? And I think I left this off of my presentation. So the answer to that is no, we are not COVID testing here at school. However, we are required to have an isolation room. So if a child does go to the nurse and they are symptomatic, they will go in the isolation room. Obviously, there will be a health aide in the isolation room monitoring that child. We will ask for the parent to come pick that child up, and you will be responsible for having your child COVID tested. So once again, we are saving this chat. Any of the questions that we didn't get to, I apologize. We will have answered, and we will put out there the answer to those questions we didn't get to. We all appreciate the time that you gave us. We hope that this was beneficial and that it was worth your time. If you have any additional questions, the 3 of us are here for you. We are an email or a phone call away, so please reach out to your building principal if there are any other specifics that you need to discuss. So please know we want your children to be safe. We want to see them back here at school. We are ready for them, and we are here to work with you as a partner into making sure that your child is safe, that they're learning, and that they're having the best school experience possible under these unusual circumstances. So once again, goodbye everyone, and thank you again for your time.